And we're live. Good afternoon. This is Jim Miller, and this is the Bright Business Talk Show where we talk about purpose driven conversations about business and life, where we inspire, lift up, celebrate, and recognize those who stand in the fire for their purpose driven lives and their businesses in our communities. And today's conversation is sponsored by the Bright Business Talk Project. Bright Business Project at business.com. Here, I'll pull that up. Business.com. If you have any curiosity about what we're doing, if you're a business owner or an expert looking for ways to expand your business or gain access to incredible resources, check us out. You might enjoy the experience too. So we'll look forward to meeting you. So today we have a guest that I'm excited to talk with. He has a tremendous background in the law field, and we haven't had attorneys on yet on our show. So this is a first for us. And I'm excited today to introduce to you Mr. Tony Liu. Tony is
Hello,
an
Jim.
attorney. How are you today, Tony?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to your talk show.
Oh,
Excited to share relevant information with your audience.
awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on today. So how was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend is full of events. I attended few networking events. It was fun, but and also very tiring. As you mature, right? So even working in a room seems like it's an exercise itself. So I ended up sleeping most of the time yesterday, so to recover.
All
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I was getting out there. It's just sometimes you got to use those weekends to get out and about a little bit.
that's right.
Holiday time coming here. It's exciting to get out and see everybody's got kind of an uplifted spirit. I'm finding,
Yeah,
and it's fun.
literally because of a holiday, right? And I apologize that I kind of cut you out a little bit there. I was kind of excited because for the holidays, every weekend is a party weekend, so to speak. There's always invitation to certain events, certain dinners, certain gathering, and it was kind of exciting time. Exciting
Awesome.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome. Well, Tony, let's get into it.
sure.
We I think would I'd like to chat with you a little bit about your background and see
Hmm.
who is Tony Liu and what got you into being a litigation attorney. You've been doing that for a minute. What is it? Almost
Yeah,
20 years now.
yeah. 20 years. 20 is more than 20 years. Longer than I would like to know, but kind of lost count.
I know it goes so fast, man. It goes so fast. So, how did you get into doing that? What was your inspiration?
Well, I wasn't the one that growing up I want to be an attorney, right? In fact, during the college, I dreamed about to be a real estate developer, like certain developer in New York, right?
So, you
Hesitate
were
to
in New
make.
York City.
Well, okay, so I mean, nothing to be political about, but I was inspired to be another Donald Trump when got into this real estate development, making all these deals, and all that, right? Yeah, sometimes I
Okay.
kind of hesitate to mention that name, but for the purpose, have a great discussion, and not being political about it. But during the college, he was somebody I want to be, where get into these commercial transactions or developments. Uh, that's kind of like things I inspired to do.
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
I read his book, Art of the Deal. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, good book. And
yeah,
then I read some work that his attorneys had done, is for negotiating. And
yeah.
wow, I tell you what, those guys are serious.
Yeah, so that's a work that was inspiring to do. So after graduation, I was looking into a position as a real estate analyst, right, for one investment firm. And later, I found out those positions you require master degrees in real estate finance, okay,
Right.
or regular finance degree in masters. So as I was exploring going to graduate school, my wife I was married at a time, so my wife's kind of like, "Do you want to have another 2 years of real estate? Why don't you do something else?" So I ended up choosing law school. So that's a story.
So what? I mean, that's like way off the beaten path. On go from real estate to law. I don't know. Maybe it's not such a big jump.
Well, because I think my wife make that recommendation just because she prefers to have more stable in terms of the income, and in real estate, whether or not most likely you're going to be an entrepreneur of your in that pursuit. And as entrepreneurs, we take risk. There's certain risks that we have to take.
Sure.
And just for younger graduate like us, it's really hard
So,
to.
how long had you been married at this point? Did you have any kids?
Oh, I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you made that decision, were they in the picture yet?
No. What do you mean? You want me to send you a picture, or what picture are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Were they around? I mean,
That. No, not yet at that time. Yeah, I had my first. My daughter was the firstborn, and that was during the law school.
So your wife was thinking ahead a little bit.
Yeah. So, well, frankly, I wasn't thinking correctly in to get married at a younger time. Right? I should have waited and have a job first, finish school, have a job first before I get married. But
hey,
you were
young. you found a good one, so he's like, I got to grab this one while the getting's good, right?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you made the right decision.
Oh, I have. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you've got you decided to go from real estate into law. You picked like one of the most difficult. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm certainly not my bailiwick, but my perception is that doing prosecutorial work, trial work, is probably one of the most difficult things to do in law.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery involved in trial work. It is for me, right? And growing up back, my culture seems to associate being a lawyer. You need to go to court a lot to do a trial work. So that's kind of how I see myself as a trial attorney at that time. And of course, after I get into the field, that's not necessarily true. There's a plenty of great lawyers that they don't do trial and do business transaction.
Right. Yeah, work. I mean that's like Perry Mason. I grew up with Perry Mason stories, and Perry Mason, and there was the guy that was always the loser. He was like he lost every single case. I felt sorry for him sometimes.
So based on the cultural influence, I'm really into the trial work, and kind of like in the beginning, when I see the importance of trial work, I started to go out and acquire the skills and the experience. And the reason I think it's important is that whether or not we seek the settlement, I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of dispute that we have, we need to find a solution, right? Or resolution. Right. And the resolution can be either through settlement, through arbitration, or it's through trial. And each particular stage, they all share similar methodology. Is to you need to have some sort of supporting evidence to back up your claim, right? So through the trial work and the experience, I was able to handle these 3 type of resolution. So it doesn't matter. We just have to adapt a little bit here and there, but ultimately is to find the documents or find the evidence to support your claim, so that you can get the best resolution, the best outcome possible. So I think trial work is really important.
What kind of personality is the best when you're looking for a trial lawyer? You want somebody who's really technical, or do you want somebody who's like big on relationship building, or what do you want?
Well, for me, I'm looking for, if I'm hiring a trial lawyers, I'm looking for somebody who is creative, who is nice and cordial, trustworthy. The image that we see on TV probably not the reality, because if you're not sincere, trustworthy, nice, and if you get in front of the jury, they will hate you, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you say, whatever the position you want to advocate for your client, is pretty much 1 year in, 1 year out. So personality um, of attorney is really important before the jury. You got to be authentic, and you need to be honest, and be trustworthy. That's
Yeah, it
very
makes
important.
total sense. My daughter's a nurse. She's a critical care ICU nurse, and she hates watching those medical shows on
Yeah.
TV because she's like, "This is not the way this happens."
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah.
And so I mean, you
It,
get frustrated
yeah,
with those.
it's totally different, because generally, sometimes if clients say, "Hey, I want to go see in a hearing," and I always have to advise them, "It's your right to say in a hearing, but you just have to know it's not what you see on TV."
Mhm.
Many
Right.
times it's very boring.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good thing. It's
Yeah.
like, what is in your work? How much of the work is done preemptively versus in trial? I'm thinking when you get to trial, like it's like a dire straits almost.
Well, if you really want to, like, how much of I work, it depends. If you're asking me how much of the work is involving consultation versus actual trial work.
Yeah.
So in our firm, literally, when a business owner or an entrepreneur, and I can use those two words the same, um, when they start having doubt about their business venture, the conduct of their partners, the direction of the company that they're
Mhm.
heading, that is the time they start seeking advice from an attorney, and they call our office. We do whatever we can to advise them as to what was going on, their rights and responsibility, and starting to set themselves up for success in the event that this case pass a point of no return, meaning that's there's no way to settle the case but for to file the lawsuit. So that we kind of advise them uh, during that period of time, so that in the event they need to go through a lawsuit to resolve their issue, then they will have a better experience and set up for I like to call set their themselves for success, to gather the evidence while they still have access, to list all the witnesses as to what happened, things like that. So, but we are gradually expanding, because there is so much we can do to prevent business owners to go into this kind of situation. Because I tell you, it's not fun. Based on my personal experience, and also see how my clients going through this process. So if we can avoid the lawsuit, that is even better, right? Even though I love trial, I love litigation, but if the clients can avoid it, that portion of the journey is better,
Mhm. Yeah,
more profitable too, if I want to add.
yeah, I see on your website you talk about, you say win the battle before it begins, and
Yeah.
yeah, it makes total sense. What what percentage of your work is um, working with partners or inside a
Mhm.
company, issues going on within a company versus company to company or company to supplier or external stuff?
Okay. So about 65% of our cases are dealing with partnership disputes, shareholder disputes, uh, or corporate matter, right? So uh, whether or not it's a joint venture from between the companies. I mean, joint venture is kind of like a partnership between the business, right?
Right.
So 65% of the cases are dealing with that kind of category. All right, they do business together either through partnership or through joint venture. The other 35% is more like a garden variety of contract dispute among the the client, the, the entity the client doing business with, whether they are supplier, customer, or sometimes competitor, right? So that's kind of like another 30%. Now we have a small portion of transactional work, just because at the end of the lawsuit, when client want you to still continue to do work for them, and if they have an issue internally, they will contact us, and that's kind of like very like about 5 to 10% of the time we do transactional work. But we are expanding that portion because there are so many things that we can offer, especially for business owners, to not to get into the sticky situation or ugly situation between their partnership. So that's an area we are expanding. Yeah, my focus is really helping business owners either break free from the dishonest business relationship, and before they need to break free from that, there's a lot of things they can do not to even get into that kind of relationship in the first place. So that's kind of where we are heading for next year or so.
Okay. That's interesting. What do you see from the where do you like to get involved with a company? Because I've got some friends who are dealing with a business they've had for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're a partnership, quote unquote, but they don't have any kind of partnership agreement in place. Nothing
Mm-hmm.
written. It's all verbal. And I always thought that was kind of risky.
Well, yeah, I don't know where to start if you're doing business without any partnership agreement. Pretty much that is a governing documents or historical document, I would say, right? So the contract, in my perspective, is a historic document. So you agree on how you're gonna do business together,
Mhm.
who's gonna do what, and what's the right and responsibility of each partner. And in the event that you guys not able to, the interest is not aligned, how you guys gonna split, who's gonna get what after that, right? So we kind of had to talk about, it's kind of like prenuptial agreement for lack of better comparison.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It's like,
Yeah, the analogy is kind of like prenuptial agreement where you spell out exactly what a relationship is, and together how you're gonna handle each other's asset, and if you guys split it up, how you're gonna divide that up, right? So you kind of have to talk before that, and most importantly, I think you also need to select the right partner. I mean, I have my way of vetting um, the person that you want to do business with, and I don't want to get into too much internal psychology, but you just need to find somebody that somebody's who has the same beliefs, value system, and your vision, right? The skill set can be different, but as long as they have the same value and the same vision, that is kind of most important in the partnership relationship.
so what do you see for yourselves in terms of getting involved with companies? What's your ideal solution or situation? When should somebody come talk to you?
Okay, so right now, so like I said before, right now people start talking to me when they start having doubt about their company, their business, and direction they're heading, right? But we can have that discussion even early on. And through my experience helping these business owners, and I realize that if they have a good planning about their asset, okay, about through estate planning, for example. And if they have a good planning about the exit strategy, like who, how they're gonna pass on their business legacy, either through family, through employees, or other third party. And if they select the right partners, if they can go through that,
Mm-hmm.
the chances of them going through the litigation is just minimal, right? So if they, the process can start even earlier than when they start having the suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, through a good planning.
Just a good planning. Okay, so I perceive, and I may be wrong, but I perceive that hiring somebody like you before I really need you
Mhm.
would be expensive. So my thought is, why do I need to hire somebody like you before I need you? But what
Mhm.
I'm hearing you say is it's important to have you as a resource
Mhm.
so that you don't get into trouble.
Mhm.
So what's your do you have anything to help small businesses that don't, the owner might perceive, oh, I don't need a lawyer, but hey, you could really help them. What are you doing for them to help them get
So,
that level?
so yeah. So that's always a question, Tony. We have this negative connotation or idea about attorney's fee and the
You got a
charge, how
retainer,
it
you
can
got to
be charged
pay
and all
money
that.
out, right?
Yeah, but
It's like
but
an
in our
insurance
firm,
policy.
yeah. So in our firm, we make sure that the client get values out of our service, right? So whatever that they pay us, if whatever client gets back is worth more than what they pay us, and I think that's a plus for us, and that's where kind of we try to accomplish each week.
Can
Each
you give me
week
an
we're gonna,
example?
well, um, for example, okay, if I can save their relationship with their kids, and you might ask, what's that have to do with the partnership dispute? Well, nobody has a legal issue. I was once told, and I really believe it. Nobody has a legal issue. They have personal issue, but it was emphasized or caused by this legal issue. So, just for example, my personal experience, right? My dad, you know, my dad was a real good person, and because he's not making enough to, as his work as a teacher, so he tried to invest in the company, go into a business with somebody else, just so that we can, the kids has better life, right? Um, so, well, long story short, he ended up getting involved in a partnership that he never should have gotten to, right?
Mhm.
Um, I remember about, when I was in high school, I was passing my parents' bedroom, and I kind of overheard that how my dad had to explain to my mom that he invested about $50,000 into a retail bookstore. Ended up he has absolutely no interest in a business, right? And how he has to explain to us that he asked us to help the business out so that for the entire summer, so we can have grand, so they can have a grand opening, right? So all his kids are kind of pitching, including me. We pitch in during the summer and just to get the store ready. So it was embarrassing for him, and his self-esteem is really on the rock bottom, and not mention about the already limited financial resources that he had. I mean, he did not get this money to invest through his parents, right? It's not a passing down type of thing. He earned it, he saved it, and then he invested, but unfortunately, it's all gone.
Mhm.
So if I can solve that, right? And you can ask if whatever that you pay me is worth it to save um, the relationship with your kids. your wife, your financial situation, whether or not it's worth it. Many times it is, because that's one how we distinguish our service is we don't look at individual cases as a legal case, right? There's always a story behind that. So I look behind the partnership dispute and into client's relationship with the family, his reputation among the community, for example, his time, his money. And if we can make his situation better than before, I think we have achieved our objective. In addition to recovery that he's going to get through the lawsuit. So that's kind of example I can give is that's how we increase the value for our clients. Because I can tell you many times, if you pay certain, if you pay for an expert so that you can regain your control of the company that you work so hard for, that your family is relying on, that's absolutely worth it. The money that they pay us.
Yeah, that's like priceless. Keeping
Yeah.
those relationships together. Those are long-term things that have really big sways one way or another. If somebody
Yeah.
decides in your family to leave the flock for a long period of time, it hurts.
Yeah, and it's really like, growing up, seeing my parents going through that process, and it's just not easy for them, right? They're embarrassed. Um, they lost the confidence of themselves, engaging in business. Um, Not to say that my dad lost all the money that he's supposed to, like, that he saved so hard for it, right? So, and it just you know I mean, I grew up in Asian culture. This kind of thing, everybody kind of suppress inside of their emotion. They just suppress their emotion. My dad didn't talk about it, but I knew that is not easy for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was trying to avoid the discussion many times, and I try to express my opinion as well, because as a young kid, because I don't want to aggravate or I don't want to trigger him any further. So it was not it's not an easy time to growing up in that kind of situation as a
No,
kid.
imagine not. It's kind of stressful, but it sounds like it was a pivotal experience for you.
Yeah, it's kind of funny thing is that I didn't know I didn't make this connection that I'm doing what I do now is kind of related to that. I didn't make that connection until 2021 because I always kind of wonder why um, I'm so into this kind of work, right? So to
Mm.
give you a background, I when I graduated from law school, I started out going to a bankruptcy firm, and I worked for a bankruptcy judge for a couple of years, and went to a boutique firm before I had a chance to work in a DA's office. Um, so when I start on my own, like most of younger attorneys, I like accept the cases, whatever that came in the door, right? So I took on the estate planning, I took on the personal injury cases, business cases, criminal cases, for example. Um, but as I matured, it appears to be like most of the cases that I attract are business related,
Yeah.
particularly the partnership cases, right? So I was wondering about why I'm so into this. So finally, in 2021, I was in Tennessee attending a conference, and I was asking myself before the conference started, and I suddenly made that connection. I suddenly has this memory took back to the time my dad and my mom didn't do well in business. Always, for like always got into this lousy business relationship. Not only they lose the money, but also got cheated on. got sometimes even being bullied, right? Not underappreciated by the partners,
Mhm.
and I hope that those partners not listening to the podcast, but that's okay. I mean, it is what it is, right? So suddenly at that time, I made that connection, and since that day on, um, I finally are more focused in terms of the case selection. Um, I work a little bit longer because I know kind of like my mission. I wouldn't say that's kind of like my mission of life mission to help this individual out, but
Mhm.
I unknowingly become that person because growing up, I was like so hope I wished somebody kind of like can either get my parents out of that situation, or at least have somebody that they can talk to say, you know what, don't go into this kind of business with this individual because you end up gonna get screwed, right? And unknowingly, I became that person as attorney, and once I made that connection, the fact that I work long hours just doesn't seem to be uh, that bad, right? So because I know that I'm helping other families uh, in this same similar situation
Mhm.
that I went through. So that's kind of like my motivation for right now to help this business out, and my motivation to expand my practice into more on. I mean, we're still gonna be like predominantly a litigation firm, but because we can start planning ahead of time so that they don't even go through they don't even need to go through this litigation process, right? Through good planning in on their estate, on their business, their exit strategy, and if they want to go into a business, vetting the partners, and vetting the opportunities, those kind of area that will be offering in the future, so that client can start at a very early stage and doesn't have to be in the litigation. So that's
That,
kind of where we're heading right now.
okay, that's great. Where would you what would you say your like description of purpose driven is? We talk about purpose driven business and lives on this show, and I'm just curious to see what your kind of perspective is on that term as an attorney.
For me as attorney,
Mhm.
uh, purpose driven means that you know why you're doing what you do, right? And I am very grateful that I made that connection and realized my purpose in 2021. I'm not just a business attorney that love trial work, right? And I am through my work, through as a trial attorney or litigation attorney, I help businesses that in a similar situation, uh, and help them not to get into the sticky bad partnership that cause the heartache in their family. Number one. Number two, if they are already in it, how can they break free from that?
Mm.
Right. So it's kind of two stages. So because now I know my purpose, um, I am a little bit, not a little bit, actually a lot. I'm very clear now as to what kind of cases I'm taking. If there is a cause for it, for the case, right? And the cause I'm looking for is, am I helping out this family through my talent as an attorney? If I can do that, then I will take the case. So in other words, every case there must be if a real person, the situation must be real. They must file the lawsuit in the right with the right purpose. Okay, so that's kind of a lot of factor that we can look into. So right now we are very focused because now I know my purpose, in everything that we do right now as a firm. I think last year we compiled this 7 core value for focus law, and it's all based on that, right? We're gonna move family. We're gonna commit to these families to be in a better place, right? We need to be honest with them. We need to be focused. We need to be tough when the situation is not going our way. We need to be flexible, adapting to challenges, and we earn the client's trust every single day. And just do the work every single day. The reason they hire us for. So because of I know that purpose, whether or not how we take the case, how the employees of this firm must perform, how we hire, how we litigate is all in line with that purpose. So if you ask me purpose-driven work, I think that's my example of that.
How about for you personally?
In what way?
Well, I see that this is an interesting thing for me because it's a lot of people perceive purpose driven as maybe a nonprofit or a company that has an altruistic focus. That profit isn't always the first priority, and they maybe think that or perceive, as I have, that when a dispute happens or somebody has a disagreement, that people have enough wherewithal and humility and the right emotional investment to let things slide or to not be so firm or hard on your particular point of view, and kind of deflate the conflicts that happen.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case, right? I mean, you may, I don't know, do you come up with that kind of thing where like you work with nonprofits where there's real disputes?
Well, yeah, they do have a dispute of their kind, right? Every entity, they all have their own issues, right? But when I handle these cases, if you ask me, how about you, me personally?
Yeah.
When I handle these cases for the client, many times I am freeing my younger self in their situation,
Okay.
so that their kids will not go into that.
So you have that empathy element.
Yeah. So if the business that they invest in didn't go their way, sometimes it triggers me because I saw my dad in this person. That what my dad had to go through in him, right? So that's kind of more on a personal level of why I'm doing what I do, and of course sometimes I need to draw a healthy boundary, but many times that's I take this type of work a bit more personal than most attorneys.
Yeah, it seems like you've got a real human side about you that I like. So it's
Thanks.
cool. So let me bring up your website. Let's chat about that for a second.
Sure.
So Focus Law, and let me pull up. There's the Focus Law website and the phone number. And you are all about winning battles before they begin. So we talked a little bit about some of that.
Okay.
But you're working with. Forgive me. Is that what language is that?
Oh, it's the Mandarin.
Mandarin. Okay, yeah. So Chinese. And so you're. Do you do work with companies in China, or they're all U.S. based, or how do you international work too?
I would say companies based in U.S. or companies in overseas that they have business in U.S. Right. So they must have some relationship here. And I think I've been here like 45 years, so my Mandarin is kind of like only at the conversational level.
Okay.
Which is enough to communicate with the client. But if I need to read the documents, for example, I used to rely on translator to help me to do that. Now we kind of like utilize AI to for that portion of work, and they still have a lot of work to do, but it's good enough to know exactly what the document is saying. So
Excellent. So I'm seeing here that you have, you're focused on smaller companies.
yeah.
Do our firms focus on smaller businesses? We can tailor our approach to each client's unique needs instead of broadly serving the complex interest of a single entity. So I'm thinking that you're working with several smaller firms instead of one
Mhm.
big one,
Yeah.
and that you're dedicated to success in California,
Hmm.
and that you've got flexible, cost-effective legal solutions ideal for small and medium-sized businesses. Um,
Yes.
so, can you explain that a little more? Expand on it.
Well, obviously we are a California firm, and my associate and I will license a California attorney. In the event that we have to go outside of California and requires attorneys being licensed in other states, we have a network of attorneys, and we can ask them to act as our local counsel as required, right?
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, uh, you know, we do predominantly in California. If a company is doing different states, we will also associate, just being in compliance with the rules, will associate with the local counsel in that state. And both of us, we will engage in the representation. Now, if it's pure consultation, where license is not required, obviously there's no restriction as to where we can do or provide our advice, non-legal advice, right, so to speak. So that's that. In terms of fee structure, obviously we work as a team. So we will interview clients and find out what they need, and then we will tailor the solution based on their budget,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not every business have $1 million legal budget. I can understand that. Some business, their budget is limited. So let's say if it's on the limited side of the budget, then we can say, okay, this is how much you have available to spend on this case. What kind of solution or approach that we can do based on that budget, right? So whether or not we can do through not sometimes we are able to do some flat fee work. Sometimes we can do hybrid fee structure. So it depends on the need of the client.
You mentioned a budget. Do you have like a recommended percentage of budget that a business should be allocating in an ideal situation?
Well, if the dispute, okay, it depends on situation, right? So let's say if the real damage is about $30,000, for
Mhm.
example.
All
In that
right.
situation, most likely I'll recommend, you probably need to settle the case. We have to manage our ego, our emotions, and make decisions in business perspective, make business decisions. So in that situation, most likely you should settle the case, and we can work towards that, right? Lawsuit litigation for that amount of claim probably most likely is out of question because the legal fee just gonna exceed that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's kind of example like exactly what's your budget. If your budget is in your situation doesn't call for the full-blown litigation or full-scale litigation, we'll let you know. If the case needs to be settled, we will let you know, right? It's all based on your budget, based on the case. And if you do make the mistake or made the wrong decision, and sometimes we represent plaintiff side, sometimes we represent defense side, and even defense side, they are still good people. They just make wrong decisions, right? Wrong business decision many times. If you made wrong decisions, and unfortunately, we will minimize the consequence because of that decision. Not so sure we can completely get the client off the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the situation. Sometimes we can, sometimes we cannot. So we kind of have to assess the situation that if you need to be responsible for one way or the other. And if the damage is being done to the point that there's really no way to remedy that, then we'll minimize that. Obviously, that's in that situation, earlier settlement is better, right? You don't want to drag on litigation. So there's so many factors got involved as to what approach you need to go. And it really depends on the situation of the client. And I'm not so sure into the question. I just
no,
remember.
it's great. What I'm getting the sense that
Yeah.
as a business owner, you're a good guy to know, and good guy to know like now, before I have a problem.
It is true because I mean, a lot of attorneys will tell you, they give you honest answer. They advise there's no sugar coated. It's not sugar coated. Revising all that stuff. That's all great, but does the attorney has a courage enough when the client say you really screwed up? You need to face out your responsibility. Sometimes we just have to tell that to the client. Because if we don't, later they found out, or they have to go through that experience. Number one, I don't think we, as attorney, fulfill our obligation. And second, they will be shocked, and the journey of climbing out of that hole will be even more difficult because of that reason. So I'd rather tell client that if they, in fact, in a situation where they need to settle and settle now because the mistake that they have done is just too great to fix. Then I will let them know that as well. In addition to what can they do to climb out of that situation.
Where
Right.
do you?
I mean, that's a very few. Most of the time, we can go in and do some maneuvering and minimize their damage to the very minimum. Right. But in some situation where you just, I mean, I have a client literally transferred like $5 million from the bank account to overseas, and how are you going to save that? You can't, right? I mean, I don't know how you're going to tell judge or jury that this person transferred, without partners notice $5 million overseas account, and that kind of situation that nobody can save you at that time, right? And it's just what we can do in that situation is what we have done for the client is we need to get this thing settled early with the resources that we have before they got crucified, before the jury or the judge, which will be even more painful.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, things can get pretty serious. I'm talking 5 million. It gets serious quick.
Yeah. I wish he, before he did that, he can come to me and talk to me about it. Before you do that, then I would say, don't do that.
At least get some into it.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes, in this kind of situation, partners, they act out of emotion. They just kind of cloud their judgment a lot of times, and they just do a lot of things without thinking through, unfortunately. Right. So
I've been there. Where do you see AI playing a part in the business world in terms of what you do? at this point?
If you ask my associate, he will tell you I geek out on AI right now, right? So it is a big part of my firm. Now we have a policy that if you file anything using AI and without checking on the work, then you will be gone, right? But we as a firm, as a part of the training, we will be training associates or staff how to use AI to save their time, right? Mostly on the clerical work type of thing. Make sure the document is formatting correctly, grammating correct, creating the template, for example. Those type of things is okay to use AI, and we do use AI to save a lot of time and be more efficient. But at this time, AI cannot replace the judgment of the attorney, and that's what we are hiring for. So, and I'm very adamant about that with my associate. But you asked how does that affect AI? This thing is, I'm very excited about what it brings, because a lot of time we can be much more efficient. You know, to create a document, even through marketing most of the times. So we are really leveling the playing field with the big firm right now, because to use of creative use of AI. Yeah.
Where do you see? Well, I'm seeing the progression is happening so fast. I've been through several of these technological like tidal waves that come through. I remember when the PC came in back in the late 80s. Personal computer started, IBM's personal computer, and then there was all kinds of knockoffs.
Yeah.
And everybody in sales was saying, well, we're going to get replaced by, these computers. And that never happened. And then the internet came along and everybody's saying, oh, this is going to replace everybody. We're not going to be needed anymore. And some of that's true. Everything is changing and evolving, but there was like a period of time, years, sometimes decades. Now with AI, things are happening so fast, and I'm seeing things progress so quickly that I'm thinking, especially with I'm hearing the term agentics, where the AI technology has progressed enough where it becomes an agent for you. It has intelligence to go out and find if it has a problem, for example. It can go find somebody, a human, to solve that problem for it. And it can negotiate things, and it can like sit in as an avatar in a Zoom call for you and be you, or represent your company in some cases. And that's happening right now. And I'm curious to see from a legal standpoint, where is that going? It's like this seems like it could be really crazy.
Well, right now, all the legal support, right? Research platform, document, technology relating to law practice, they all utilizing AI, mostly on the generating notes, generating records, doing the big one is doing the research, right? Traditional research, we subscribe to this database, and then we enter some key terms in it, and we may or may not get into the right cases and right statute. Right now, you just talk naturally, like you talk to another person.
It's like a glorified Google search.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is the next level of stuff coming out.
Yeah. So right now, we don't do search term anymore. We just type in the way that how we have a conversation with another person. Then through AI, you will pick the right case for us, and they are getting better and better. Actually, I was really impressed in that area. And the other area is really on the legal side is to analyze the contract. For example, whether or not this contract fulfill the needs of the client. That's another area that the AI we use AI a lot. But if you ask me whether or not it can be we can be replaced by AI, I don't see.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm not thinking that that's
yeah.
going to happen. I'm thinking that it's
Yeah.
going to be it's moving into a point where it can, basically replace low-level employees for you.
I say that it's already happening.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say.
What are the implications of that in a legal sense? I mean, who's responsible for the agent,
Well, the thing,
the AI agent?
see, we human are responsible for how we use AI, right? So, for example, my assistant, I used to ask her to check, proofread the document, the letter, email, for example.
Uh-huh.
Now we use AI, but she still need to know how to type in the prompt and use AI to generate a purpose. So before she can, spend like 1 hour, for example, now she only needs to spend like 30 minutes. So I don't think the lower employee, even though the AI is taking on the clerical function, admin function of the firm, but it doesn't really replace the employees, because those employees still need to learn the new skills, how to use AI to do their job, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm not communicating. I see
I'm
that.
not?
What
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
looking at is the next level. What, like, the future, and this is happening so fast. It could be
Okay.
next year where this happens. And I guess an analogy would be where you've got an autonomous vehicle that's
Mhm.
riding around on its own with the technology, and it's got passengers in it that like
Yeah.
an Uber car,
Mhm.
that have been hired. Tesla's doing this. They just announced that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're going to be doing these Uber
Uh-huh.
cars, and so say that car is driving around, and it's working for a business. It's commercial,
Mhm.
and it gets into an accident, and it's the car's fault. It's determined that it's the car's fault.
Mhm.
Who's pays for that? Who's responsible for that?
Well, if you ask me
Maybe
for
you don't know. I'm just curious. It's like
non-personal injury attorney's view, uh, definitely the one gonna shoulder the liability is the car company, right? If you talk about Waymo, the autonomous
Yeah,
car in San
right.
Francisco, in LA now, definitely they will be the one shouldering the liability part. I don't know about driver because
I
there's
can
no,
see Waymo
there's
going,
no
okay,
driver
well,
in
it was the
India.
technology, so I'm going to sue the company that has built the technology into the car,
Yeah,
and it's going to
definitely.
go downhill. It's going to cascade it to the one who has the deepest pockets, I guess, right?
Yeah, but it's, those companies they generally are insured, so regardless, the insurer will be shoulder most of the liability in the event of accident. So yeah, I
But
was.
say we took that idea and we moved it into a business situation where you've got an
Mhm,
autonomous agent that's doing work for you,
mhm.
and having conversations with other people, humans and other robots and other agents. Um, I imagine that's going to get interesting.
It It'll be interesting. I will definitely. I'm not so sure how I can ever be comfortable with that in my firm,
Yeah,
because
I think it's happening
ultimately,
now.
yeah,
I,
ultimately, I'm the one responsible as the owner of the firm, and I make sure that even this AI agent need to do the job that I program it to do, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that I don't think we reached that point yet, but if it does, I will really make sure that you'll perform in according to my instruction and the way I want it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure. I'm sure.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're bumping up against an hour, and gosh, it goes so quick. Thank you for joining me. Any last minute things you'd like to chat about before we say goodbye?
Well, I really appreciate today's opportunity that we share about a lot of things that was, I normally don't share that with
Yeah.
my colleagues
Thank
on
you for
different things.
being.
Sometimes it's the personal in nature, but since you ask, then I don't mind sharing it. But it's not something that kind of broadcasts, in the public. But definitely give me this platform to express in to share my experiences, growing up with my parents, and as a driving force and motivation for doing what I'm doing. So I really appreciate this opportunity. And
My pleasure. This is great.
it
Appreciate
is,
your
I can tell you, it's really
sharing.
exciting and make your work more meaningful when you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm. Yes.
And that's exactly how I feel since I make that connection. And that kind of changed everything I do. And whatever that we do, we all have that focus. Very meaningful right now in terms
Excellent.
of my
And now
work.
you've taken on a little bit of responsibility. I think, from what I heard with the Bright Business Project in
Uh-huh.
Iraq, correct?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I'll be leading. Thanks, Foreign, for the opportunity. I'll be leading the Corona chapter, and I'm looking forward to that because um, I am very generous in nature, and I like to help and share. And of course, we kind of have to be strategic about it and also have a right boundary, right? But that Bright Business Club, you know, it seems to appear the member who joined that club is already interest to co-elevate, with each other's business and already, kind of like a business that within the boundary that I would like to help out with. So it is really exciting that I can, be a giver, and at the same time, the other business is going to be benefit of it. And I'm very sure, I'm 100% positive there will be some benefit come back to me, either my just being helpful, being generous, because sometimes in not many times you can be generous in a society right now because of one reason, especially being an attorney, right? Sometimes you cannot be too generous with the opposing counsel. Otherwise, your client's like, "What am I hiring you for?" So that kind of give me a outlet for me to be myself. So I was really kind of excited on that opportunity.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's looking forward to the next meeting. When's your next meeting coming up?
So the one in Irvine, unfortunately, I have a board meeting in, I will not be able to make it, but December 18th, we're gonna have a meeting in Corona.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We'll look forward. We'll start promoting that right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, sir. Great being on the show with you. And we're going to have another episode next week on Monday, the 16th of December, here on the Bright Business Talk Show. So we'll be announcing that soon on LinkedIn, putting an event up. So look forward to having you there as well. So thanks again. Hang on a bit. I'm going to end the stream and hang on a sec.